Hello and welcome to this chess video. I'm Master Ingvar Jónesson and welcome to my chess channel. We're going to look at this game from 1981 and the players relatively unknown, Magalotti and Pantaleoni, Italian players probably. They are today over 2100 rated, but I think at the time they were both about 2200. And this game features a very nice kind of a reload theme, very nice tactical theme. And at the end of the game, in the variations, we will see a very cool cool theme that I don't think I've covered on this channel, but I've seen it before in a study, a very nice study. But without further ado, let's have a look at the game. Magalotti had white and Pantaleoni black. And it was an old Indian, d4 knight f6, c4 d6, similar to what we had in the Bronstein game the other day, Mikenas against Bronstein. I'll link to that. This game went a little bit differently, with Pantaleoni employing a line here with bishop to f5. I believe this is attributed to Janowski. Now the idea here is simple. Black wants to prevent e4, and perhaps this is something that you can add to your repertoire as sort of a surprise weapon. Most people will play probably like white did here with f3, which is very logical because you're preparing e4. But now black plays e5. I'm not saying this is great, but it could be a surprise weapon. It looks like the opening turned out okay for black in this game. In the game, white did play d5, but if the knight's rule e4, black will take on d4, and he actually has a decent score here after bishop e6. Knight c6 is also a natural move, hitting the queen. But bishop e6, you keep this move in stock. And you can also play for c6, knight d7, kind of a structure. Which makes sense. So if you have some experience, for instance, in the King's Indian, and you just want to get a position, maybe this is something you can look into. In the game, white played d5, and ideally he'd like to play e4 next, and if you can do that, when black will have to lose time with the bishop, so black plays e4. So not allowing white to play e4, bishop to g5, bishop to e7. White can take on f6, but this would leave black with a wonderful black squared bishop on a post. And you can win this pawn, but you're not even winning it. We can take on c3 and take on e4 if you want, or even take here and give a check. And this just looks bad for white. So taking on f6 is not advisable. But white was feeling adventurous and played g4. Note that having this pawn on f3 and not playing e4 means that your pieces are a little bit, clogged up, and white is having some problems in developing the light squared bishop and the knight. So g4, bishop g6, and white continues here, h4. Black has to make loops for the bishop, h6. The bishop retreats, and black now gets the knight out, knight b to d7. Knight h3, hard to find any other reasonable square for the knight. a5, securing the c5 square for the knight. Standard move in many King's Indians and structures like these. Knight f2, knight to c5. Black is keeping the e4 pawn under lock and key. g5 looks tempting, but we can take with the pawn, and looks like white will be left with some weaknesses. So queen d4 was preferred by white. And now black finally takes on f3, relieving the tension, but also opening up for this bishop. And now a very cheeky move by black. He plays knight after d7. And, well, the aim here is twofold. I guess the main idea we'll see in the game But bishop f6 is also an idea to just improve the scope of the bishop. Also, there's a trap if you take here. I'll play bishop f6 and your queen is simply trapped. But the main idea is revealed after the move that white made. Probably it's not advisable for white to castle because, well, this pawn is attacked. Black could take it. So white preferred to castle queenside, which looks like it should be okay. I mean, there are some worries with this bishop, but other than that, there doesn't seem to be that many problems facing white. But it turns out that this is a losing blunder. And, well, since you know that, you should be able to find black's response here. But nonetheless, it's a very, very nice move. And I'm sure that black had seen this. Otherwise, maybe he wouldn't have played knight after d7. So black to move here. What's the move? Fantastic move. Are you ready? Knight to b3. Check. And all this does, first of all, it's a fork, king and queen. So you have to take it. But what this does is, it means that the a pawn is no longer protecting the b3 square. So the only point of this move was to weaken the b3 square at the cost of a piece. And the fact that the king is getting checkmated after knight b3, you don't have time to move the queen. So you will simply move the queen. And you have no way, the knights do not have access to the d2 square. So you're just losing. The king can't start running, start running, because then we just take, win the queen. So white is losing the queen. An absolutely amazing motif. We've seen similar mating motifs in a game by Planets, which I'll link to up here. I have some games, but I'll actually link to the playlist by Planets because the games that are covered by Planets are absolutely amazing, and if you haven't seen them, you just have to check them out. So I'll leave a link in the card and in the description. But yeah, white is losing the queen, and he decided to take on c5. Knight b5, hitting d6. Hitting c7, prompting bishop to d6. Black loses the casting right, but he's up so much material that it doesn't really matter. Bishop d3, and now we see that white has two knights for the queen. And, well, for the moment he does have a little bit of a blockade going, but it's not enough. And black now plays queen to f6, targeting the f3 pawn. So perhaps this knight f4 business wasn't the best way to go about things. Rook e8, black gets trade of one pair of rooks, and when you're up material, you should definitely be going for trades. And that's what black is doing, g5, getting the f3 pawn. But you had to be slightly careful here, because after knight takes d6, all of a sudden black is setting up an evil mating construction, threatening mate in 1. And it turns out that even after all this, there's only one winning move for black. Unfortunately for Magalotti, Pantaleoni was up to the task and he played queen h1, which prompted resignation from Magalotti. The thing is, you have to move the king, and now I will give you a check and I will pick up the knight. And you're simply toast. But going back to this position, if black was careless and played the move like king g8, then all of a sudden knight e8 is actually drawing. And you can even lose if you start running a bit more with king h7. Then knight h to f6 followed by h5 is mate. But the thing I found most amazing is after f5, which looks like, okay, I make a square from a king, this should be okay. Well, I have knight h to f6. King goes to f7. Then I have knight to d6. And the key idea here is that I can give up the knight on f6 because I have a perpetual at the rook e6. King must go to g7 because the knight is covering this square. So that means whenever you go to the 7th, I can give a check on e7. And when you go to the 8th, the knight is covering here. So the knight covering here, the pawn covering here, and the knight covering this square means that we can check forever on these 3 ranks. And there's no escape for black. But yeah, quite often cute variations like these are hidden in what didn't really transpire in the game, but nonetheless beautiful ideas. And well, the idea that happened in the game was absolutely spectacular. Just clearing the c5 square and weakening the b3 square, and this was enough to win the game. So a very nice motif, which I really enjoyed. Only found out about this game this week, and I hope you liked it as well. I'll see you in the next video, and bye bye.